Know a fair amount of my high school life? Yes. Your school sounds fucking amusing. I don't have many high school stories. It's just the ones that I've told are very interesting. The most part, my high school days were quite boring. I just have a few. First vocal Serbian viewer? Definitely, yes. Thought you'd call me out on that? Oh. Well, that's the thing, is I didn't think you were Greek. That's why I was surprised when you said you're from Greece. Dejin is Canadian? Yeah, I thought you were either Canadian or American. See, that's why I was surprised when you said Greece. Where is the bank still where it used to be? Just down here? So excited when I land that you have cerebral palsy as well. Thanks. I know what you mean. I guess there's no way to word that, not make it sound hilarious. Man, I'm just so happy that you're a fellow cripple. I always secretly hoped that you were crippled from birth. Alright, where's the fucking bank? Bank of Ogremar. I don't think there's a New Brunswick in Greece. You never know. Don't assume.
What's up?
Do you know how to read this? No, I only read English. Do you play Divinity? I play Divinity, was it Divinity Original Sin 2? Yeah. In fact, I streamed that a bit with Brandon. It's a really fun game. I haven't played super far in, though. I've started many different characters on it, though, because I always have new game syndrome in games. There we go. I'm just gonna deposit basically all of this, because I don't know if I'm ever going to need it. I'll probably do something with this stuff one day, maybe. I don't know yet. I don't know what the hell this Eye of Burning Shadow is for. And I will sell that refreshing water for the, like, 1 copper it's worth. Felseal spoilers. Is Felseal a spoilers maybe relevant game? I have no idea what you're asking. I'm sorry. I have no idea, but if you're saying, can you say Felseal spoilers, the answer is no. I don't want any spoilers on Felseal. What did you call it? Unless you can correct me, the only Welsh viewer? The only vocal Welsh viewer, yes, I believe. He's asking if it's okay to drop Felseal spoilers. Absolutely not. No, I do not want to be spoiled on that game. That is like one of the games I care the most about not being spoiled on, because I really, really like that game. And I don't want any spoilers on it. You're just here for the conversation? Yeah, I hear that a lot from people. Hey, Ogremar. We're leaving you right now, Ogremar. That's a valid response. I know it's story-driven. Well, story-driven, yeah, but also I don't want to get spoiled on, like, the classes of the game and stuff. I really love the sense of mystery that you get from, like, exploring new, like, getting a new class unlocked and then seeing what else it unlocks and stuff. Thinking of buying it, so I didn't want to watch your videos on it without having played it on my own. Just watch, like, the first video or two, just, like, the first, like, hour of the game and see if you like it. But if you like games like Final Fantasy Tactics and Tactics Ogre, you'll definitely like Felseal. I think it's a really cool game so far. I definitely recommend it. And in fact, if you watch the first few episodes, the first stream I did of Felseal, one of the developers of Felseal was in the chat openly responding to the chat's questions and stuff. It was really cool having him there. His name was Pierre. He was super helpful to have there. Goal is to bring you to the gun class, right? Yeah, we're trying to get you to that gun class. Like, we don't know what the class is for sure, but we can see that it uses guns, and we're trying to work your way up to that because it looks like that'll unlock some cool stuff. And we're not really sure what other direction to go with your character right now, so we may as well try and get you towards one of the really difficult long-term classes and see what kind of payoff we get out of that. Yeah, Pierre's a smart guy. I like how Pierre types. Pierre has like the best typing style we've ever seen in the chat, where every time he's going to respond to something, whether it be to someone else in the chat or to me, he has 1 or 2 words at the beginning and then a colon to separate out. And the 1 or 2 words at the beginning is the subject of what he's responding to. And that instantly just makes it so easy to read and know exactly what is being responded to and talked about. And it's such an ingenious idea. I can't believe he's the only guy I've ever seen do this. I think I've seen Retra and a few other people in the chat that day trying to like replicate that. And by all means, type like Pierre. That dude's a genius. What a smart idea. I gotta bug Pierre into coming into the streams again sometime. He was really cool. I like him. He was at the stream for 1 stream. And he's just like a developer who came in for 1 stream, and everybody loved Pierre. Alright, what quest we have here? Raptor's Den. Got it, I can do that. The yellow, red, blue raptor's nests. Yes, I remember that quest. Him to be awesome streamer. Well, that's just a lie, Harry Lemon. Yeah, I agree. Goblins should be a neutral race, not limited to Horde. I remember sitting around my old living room once when I was like 20, sitting in the living room with my mom, talking about World of Warcraft like we often do. And we were talking about the idea of having a neutral race that was either a third faction or a race where you could be on either Horde or Alliance with it. And this was long before Pandarians or even before Goblins were in the game. This was during Wrath of the Lich King. We were talking about it, and what we said is if there's going to be a third faction, it should probably be the Booty Bay Buccaneers, making them playable. But regardless of whether it's going to be a whole faction or not, if there's going to be a neutral race, it should be the Goblins, because they're already neutral, and I bet you a lot of people would want to play as them. Ourselves included, we'd love to. And I'm a big fan of Goblins in most games. Orcs and Goblins I love in video games. And so we always said, like, that would be a really cool idea. And eventually they do add Goblins, and it's Horde only, and we're like, that's stupid. And then the Alliance one they add are Worgen, and it's like, that's also really stupid. And the Goblin starting area sucks. It's just that super linear bullshit. And then eventually they add a neutral race, and it's fucking Pandarians. And it's like, look, I'm not wholly against Pandarians. They're kind of a goofy race. You know, they were in Warcraft 3 and stuff. They're part of the lore, and they're supposed to be like based off Chinese culture, and I actually really, really love Chinese culture. But for fuck's sake, like, that's the neutral race you picked? That's what they picked. Fucking Pandarians. Oh god, they're spawning on me. Oh, well, that one didn't aggro. That's weird. I need to build up a little rage. Come on. Let's get him hurt enough for an execution. There we go. And then a heal. Series of strikes. There we go. Once I get my first kill, things tend to go in my favor, it seems. Okay, we have a Sunscale Feather. Isn't that what we're supposed to use? Place on nest, yep. People need to stop asking for high elves. We have enough elves as is. I agree. I mean, the high elves are in the game. They're the blood elves. If they had played Warcraft 3, they'd know that the high elves from Warcraft that were part of the Alliance got betrayed, and they started calling themselves the blood elves. But no, I'm the only one who knows the lore because I played it when it was an RTS. Warcraft 3 is awesome. I need more feathers. think they want a high Azeroth that was existed before the Scourge destroyed them. Yeah, I think that's what it'd be, is they could just say, like, oh, this group didn't get betrayed. They're from a different clan or something. And whatever, easy enough excuse if that's what you want to do, you know? I mean, that's basically what they did with the Draenei. That's why the Draenei look completely different in World of Warcraft than they did in actual Warcraft 3, and why the Blood Elves and the Draenei aren't allies, considering they were allies in Warcraft 3. The excuse is just, oh, this is like a different spaceship full of them that didn't have contact with the other ones and didn't get corrupted by the whatever corrupted them that I don't remember. There's the thing. Is that not the thing? Seems like it's more over here. Because I already placed the one there. Where is this other one? Can I climb this? Is there a nest up here? Maybe. They were warped, right? Yeah. I started playing Thea 2 after watching your beginner's guide video. I hope you like it. I'm really happy with Thea 2. Man, they developed that game fast. Like, you should have seen, like, I've owned it for quite a while because they sent it to me because they really liked my content on Thea The Awakening, the first game. Like, every complaint I had about Thea 1, and I love Thea 1, like, every complaint was addressed. It's so cool, and the multiplayer is so good. It's so much better than I thought it was gonna be. Like, I thought it was gonna be good, but it's loaded with cool features. Like, Thea 2, like, if you're near another group when they get an event, you can have your people, like, tag team together on the event, so that you're using a combination of your two people, and, like, it's not completely overpowered, because it divvies up the action points between your people and your allies' people. So that's really cool, and you can, like, share the reward and stuff. You get to, you're nomadic at the beginning and you build your village where you want to build your village. Like, it's just, on every level, it's so much less random in terms of, like, you can't get fucked over so hard by, like, oh, I have, like, 20 people and the people I picked are the worst, or, like, oh, it keeps putting my warriors in the tactics hands and I'm getting fucked over by bad luck. Like, now it's you play the cards yourself. And, like, it's more tactical. And, oh, God, it's so cool. Thea 2 is really good. Like, as soon as they add achievements to that game, which they already said they're working on, I'm gonna get obsessed with that game. When there's a game I really like, I get obsessed with achievement hunting in it. It's why I'm trying to get every achievement in Hearts of Iron 4. That's a lot of achievements, and some of those are really hard. Oh yeah, it's me, Mr. C. I was thinking the other day about my knowledge of South African history. Specifically of the Boers. And it's been a very long time since I really studied that part of history, because it was an old interest of mine. I was wondering if I could say a little bit of what I remember and you could tell me if it's particularly accurate or not. Because I learned this, not as somebody in South Africa. And I don't know how much you know about history. I know not everybody, just because they're from a country, knows the history of the country very well. But I was wondering if I'd be able to run down a little bit of a Cliff Notes version of the history that I remember, and you could tell me if it's particularly accurate. Happy to fact check? Awesome. All right, I'm gonna give you like a Cliff Notes version. Let's just do a real short and easy version of the bits of history that I remember of the history of the Boers. So the first Boer settlement was in 1650 something. I think it was like 52 or 53. 1652 or 1653, I want to say, was the first Boer settlement, proper Boer settlement. That was in Cape Town, Cape something, like along the shore southwest. That was like the first proper settlement, so far as I can remember, of the Boers. Later down the line, my timeline for years is really bad after that, I want to point out, so I'm not going to bother. But further down the line, of course, interest is garnered from the British Empire. The British eventually annex all of that land. Slowly over time, they start making the Boers more second-class citizen-y. You know, they change it so that Dutch, I believe it would have been Dutch at the time, probably not Afrikaans yet, is not like a legal language. Like the laws can't be in that language. Jesus, I got the year right. That's impressive. Holy shit. Cape of Good Hope. Yes, there we go. Now we know it is Cape Town. Okay. Right. So, there was a lot of things that kind of drove the Boers into being second-class citizens, but big ones would have been like the language was made to be not a language you could write laws in, which is a huge problem, obviously. So basically making the British a ruling elite over the population. There was a few big things. I know one of the big things, the big thing that's, I guess, shameful looking back on it is that the British by then had already outlawed slavery, and the Boers did use slaves in their economy, and so they didn't like that. Which, you know, fair enough in history. I'm fine with them outlawing the slavery, but, you know, times are obviously very different back then, and that is one of the contributing factors. But there were many contributing factors as to them being second-class citizens, and eventually they did the Long Trek, which is where they're like, fuck it, if we don't have control of our own lands anymore, we're gonna pack up and leave. So they did the Great Trek. They moved inland, northeast, up into modern-day Pretoria, I want to say it's called. That's the name for the larger area. Freeland, I want to say. I don't know if that's the name of a city or a state or a province or what exactly. I know they're a similar area. And that is kind of where the Boers are today. But then even after they went up there and they created their own 2 countries, I believe it was, one of them was like the something Dutch Republic, I want to say, or the something Boers Republic, something along those lines. That was the larger one in the north. There was a smaller one in the south, which I think might have just been called Freeland, but I'm not entirely sure. Again, the details like that I'm very sketchy with. And I know that they were kind of left alone for a long time, but once they discovered that there were diamonds in the mountains of that land, the English started getting really touchy-feely again. I know there was wars declared. I know that the northern country, the something republic, actually, I don't know if they swore fealty or if they got annexed by the British, but they turned to the British for protection. But they ended up eventually having one of the Boer Wars, I believe it was, where they gained independence again from them, mostly due to mistreatment. They gained independence from them again. But I think it was they were left alone generally again, but in the lead up to World War I, because the English were paranoid that the Boers would side with the Germans, and the Boers also discovered gold in their land at that point, which is yet another thing the British obviously wanted. The British ended up annexing all of that land, and, you know, to this day, the Boers have never had their own country. That is my, like, super drunk history version of it. I'm sure it's way more complicated and probably more interesting also than that, and I'm sure I got some shit wrong, but that's, like, my very rudimentary knowledge. The English were handed the country as the Dutch king no longer required situation of control and protection of the territory. Right. The Boers are marginalized, and slavery abolition was a thing. Slaves were not American-style, mind, but more like domestic workers and such, right? Yeah. Most Boers have some blood slaves, and freed slaves were not rare. Yeah, it's not the same style of slavery as you think of when you think of the United States. It's obviously still bad. It's slavery, but it's more of indentured servitude from my understanding of how the Dutch dealt with slaves. Indentured servitude, I mean, nowadays we would definitely call that a form of slavery, but you kind of have a lifelong debt kind of thing. Indentured servants, yes. It's not as bad as when you generally think of slaves, but it obviously was still bad, and I'm happy that the British outlawed that. That's one of the few things that the British did in the Boers colonies that I'm actually happy with. The Great Trek, can't talk. Took the boars over mountains to the free state. Wasn't there like massive amount of losses and starvation during the Great Trek? I remember hearing it was quite bloody. There was a settled nation, sort of a war with the Zulu leaders and a truce. Deal with his son. Yeah, I do know that the boars had to deal with local tribes quite a bit. See, Dubai. Yeah, Dubai still has indentured servants. I know that parts of Asia have it as well. Yeah, the Boers and the Zulus used to interact with each other, but like when we think of like the Zulu kingdom, the way we think of it now, that was like a 19th century thing. Like that was way newer. Like the Boers were living on that land. Like when the Boers say that they're African, they fucking mean it. The Boers have been there since America was even independent. Like the Boers have been African for almost 400 years, maybe. Yeah, just about to hit 400 years. As far as I'm concerned, the story of the Boers getting oppressed and repeatedly stamped out by the British is just another story of the, of European powers coming in and stamping down on African tribes. As far as I'm concerned, the Boers were an African tribe. Just because they're white doesn't make them any less African. They grew up there for generations and generations. They're African. The diamonds were less the trigger for the English, though. The diamonds caused a major immigration rush. The gold was the real lure. Yeah, the gold was around when they got annexed, wasn't it? The English really did not take it easily, though. 2 wars, they had to resort to concentration camps and scorched earth. Yeah, I know that's something that people are bitter about, was the concentration camps of the Boers. Or against the Boers is a better way to word that, I guess. And yeah, the gold was a big catalyst. I know they started getting, wasn't it the English had a really bullshit reason for declaring war when the gold was discovered? Wasn't it they massed up troops on the border? So the Boers massed up troops in response to having troops all over their border. They wanted to protect the border. And then the British say, like, if you don't take the troops off your border, we'll consider it an act of war. And they didn't, because they need to defend their own country, and so they declared war, which, if that is accurate, that is one of the most bullshit reasons I've ever heard to declare war on a country. Like, that is awful. And Thea 2, do you know if you can craft the cosmetic seeds? I do not believe so, but you do get more than one over the course of the game. Anyway, now that I played for a little bit and we randomly started talking about the history of South Africa, I actually had to go work on some other stuff today. I know I only got like 3 levels today, sorry. But I do need to work on some other stuff. And I'm also probably going to be doing some stuff with Brandon later. Now that he's finally moved into his new place, we got to test his internet, see what it's capable of. His new internet at his new place isn't as good as before, but he's still going home on weekends to his mom's place, which has much better internet. And he's got some of his recording stuff there. So, you know, the stuff that requires better internet from him isn't going away or anything. It's just we can only record that on weekends. So, yeah, I think we're going to end the stream here. And I'm going to, I'm going to get working on some other stuff. So thank you everybody so much for coming in live. I really appreciate it. I'm going to get working on probably some LA Noire tonight, maybe some other stuff, I don't know. Someone in the chat was telling me earlier they'd like to see me and Brandon play 7 Days to Die, and he's never played it. I played it a little bit, but he has it in his library, so we said we could play that together sometime. So maybe look forward to that at some point. Thank you everybody for coming by, and until next time, have a nice day.